I have a question for you. Do you know who Christine Darden is? Well, she's somebody we're going to learn about for Black History Month. And she was born and raised right here in Monroe, North Carolina. Who is Christine Darden? Christine Mann Darden, born in 1952, is a mathematician and aeronautical engineer. She spent 25 years with NASA researching the physical properties of the shock wave known as the sonic boom. She earned her master's in mathematics from Virginia State University and her doctorate in engineering from George Washington University. She became the first African American woman at NASA's Langley Research Center to be promoted in the Senior Executive Service, the highest rank in federal civil service. She was born in Monroe, North Carolina on September 10th, 1942, and Christine Darden is one of the researchers featured in the book Hidden Figures. There's a picture of the cover down here. Hidden Figures, The American Dream and the Untold Story of the Black Woman Mathematicians Who Helped Win the Space Race by Margot Lee Shutterly. The book was written in 2016 and was a history of some of the influential African American women mathematicians and engineers at NASA in the mid-20th century. The book was made into an acclaimed film in 2016. Let's learn more about it here.
4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
It was mostly a white world, and most of the world did not realize what kind of work the black women were doing out there.
So Christine Darden was a gifted mathematical student at the Hampton Institute, a historically black college. The college was in the same town as NASA's Langley Research Center. It was here that NASA built wind tunnels to test models of aircraft.
They built a lot of wind tunnels and things out there, and they hired male engineers. But then when the wind tunnels started running and spitting out data that needed to be plotted into curves and put in reports and doing things like that, the men said, we can't do all this work. We got to have some help with doing this. We can't do all these calculations with slide rules and mechanical calculators and so forth. So NASA said, well, we need to hire women. So they went and found women, for the most part, who had math degrees, and many of them had been high school math teachers.
These women formed NASA's so-called computer pools. A large proportion of the recruits were black women.
A computer generally is a person who'd solve equations on big spreadsheets. The director would break the equation into lots of parts, and as you filled out the rows and the columns and everything, you would be working the elements of those equations for different variables.
In 1967, after several years of teaching, Christine joined NASA and worked on the space program in 1969. But by the early 70s, she was looking for a new challenge.
One day I was talking to a friend and I said, well, the engineers are working on the same kinds of equations I worked on in graduate school. I guess they're over there because they all have engineering degrees and I have a math degree. And the young lady says, oh no, some of those men over there have math degrees. And when I heard that, I says, well, gee, I'm going to ask about me becoming an engineer. I played with boys a lot in my neighborhood, so competed with them in school too. And I did not like people telling me I couldn't do anything because I was a girl. I went into what the men were doing and how they got promoted. And I said, women are being put in jobs where they cannot move forward, and that's not quite fair. That director, instead of firing me, promoted me and transferred me to engineering. NASA had created a section to try to minimize the sonic boom of a supersonic airplane, and I was assigned to that section. I was kind of a leader in the area and led the national team that kind of guided the sonic boom minimization program.
By the time of her retirement, Dr. Christine Darden was the highest-ranking black woman at Langley. Isn't it exciting to know there was a famous person in Black history that was born and raised right here in Monroe, North Carolina? Who knows, maybe someday you can be famous too. Wouldn't that be exciting?